Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. That summer, my sister and I both fell into the river. Logan chose to save me, and my sister stayed behind, forever lost to that day. From then on, both of our families were swallowed by grief and guilt. Out of gratitude, my family took care of Logan. Later, as things went naturally, we got married. When I was 58 years old, I returned to my hometown to visit the graves. As I walked past the river that had swallowed my sister so many years ago, Logan suddenly pushed me aside and jumped into the water. Before he died, he said, "Summer, if there's a next life, I swear I'll never save you again." It turned out that all these years he had never truly let go of the past. His push sent me flying. The back of my head hit the bridge pillar with a loud crack. My vision blurred, and his last words kept echoing in my mind. "Summer, if there's a next life, I swear I'll never save you again." Just before I closed my eyes, one thought crossed my mind. If there really were a next life, how wonderful that would be. When I opened my eyes again, the pain in my body turned into the crushing sensation of being underwater. I struggled to swim upward and caught sight of 18-year-old Logan, desperately swimming toward my sister. I froze for a second, then immediately followed him. After that accident, I had learned to swim. I practiced hard night after night, waking up drenched in tears. I was the one who wanted to save my sister more than anyone else. This time I could finally do it. Logan and I pulled my sister onto the shore together. Water streamed down from our soaked clothes as Logan gasped for breath and lifted his head. Our eyes met, and for a moment he froze. In that instant he understood. I had come back too. His lips moved slightly as though he wanted to say something, but he stayed silent. Instinctively he knelt down, ready to perform CPR on my sister. "Don't touch her." I suddenly shoved him away, my voice firm. I remembered it too clearly. In my previous life it was because he did that I was the one saved instead. In a small American town during the 90s, rumors could destroy a person. Soon enough, gossip spread everywhere. Eventually, under pressure from both families, I had to drop out of school, take my college entrance exams, and marry Logan. This time, I would never let my sister suffer the same fate just because he touched her. Besides, she had never liked him in the first place. I knelt beside her, pressing my palms against her chest. "Wake up, Lily. Please wake up." My tears fell one by one onto her pale face. Suddenly, she coughed and opened her eyes. I threw my arms around her, crying so hard that my whole body trembled. Her hands, regaining their strength, wrapped around me tightly in return. This wasn't a dream. I had really saved her. The nightmare that had haunted me for 45 years finally ended at that very moment. We sat under the sunlight, waiting for our clothes to dry. Logan remained silent, sitting a few feet away behind us, his eyes fixed on Lily. It wasn't until dusk that we finally went home. Logan walked us to the door and then stopped. Avoiding my gaze, he spoke softly to my sister. "Go change your clothes before you catch a cold." Then he turned around and left without looking at me even once. When we got home, my parents were startled by Lily's pale face. "What happened, Lily? Why do you look so pale?" my mother asked, worried. "It's nothing," I quickly replied in a calm tone. "Mr. Brown's dog suddenly ran at us and scared her, but I chased it away. It didn't bite us." My parents sighed, shaking their heads. "You've always been so mischievous. Go wash up and get some sleep." They returned to their room reassured. After they fell asleep, there was a soft knock on my door. When I opened it, Logan was standing there holding a pot of ginger tea. Seeing me, he looked slightly awkward. "The ginger tea is for Lily," he said hesitantly, "to keep her from catching a cold." After a pause, he added almost reluctantly, "You should have some too." I took it and thanked him. Just as I was about to close the door, he lifted his hand to stop me. "Summer," he said, his voice tense, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. "You came back too, didn't you?" Then, as if he had finally made up his mind, he said quickly, "Summer, you already know. The one I've always loved is Lily." "The past life was just a mistake," Logan said flatly. "I only saved you because you were the closest. Forget about it. Please don't bother me anymore." He spoke in one breath, as if pausing even for a second would give me the chance to cling to him. At 58, Those were the words he had buried in his heart for decades. Words he had finally let out. I looked at him calmly, my voice steady. Logan, you know that I never liked your type to begin with. A flicker of surprise crossed his face before he gave a faint nod. Good. That's good. I carried the still warm pot of ginger tea back to my room. Lily had changed into clean clothes and was drying her hair with a towel. Hearing me come in, she immediately looked up. Who was that just now? She asked. Back then I used to think, if only I could go back in time. And now somehow we really had. We both had the chance to change our futures. Summer, Lily said suddenly, setting the cup down. Her voice carried a touch of awkwardness. Actually, I think Logan's a pretty good guy. She turned to me, her eyes gentle but cautious. Maybe I should try dating him. What do you think? She hesitated for a moment, then added softly, her gaze searching my face. Summer, you wouldn't be upset, would you? I froze as if struck by lightning. Looking into her careful eyes, I finally understood. She had known all along. She knew I liked Logan. In our previous life, she had insisted on taking me to the river that day. Not because she was scared, but because she wanted to help me, to give me the chance to confess my feelings. She went there for me and she died for me. My nose stung and I fought to keep my emotions in check. I forced my voice to stay steady and even raised it slightly. Lily, what are you talking about? Don't say such nonsense. How could I possibly be mad? I forced a smile, keeping my tone light. You know me, Lily. I don't like guys like Logan anymore. All of his gentleness and thoughtfulness, they've always been for you. I don't feel that way about him now. Those silly crushes from when we were kids have long been worn away by time. Now everything had finally returned to where it should be. Lily, you should give it a try, I said clearly and sincerely. I really do wish you both happiness. For the first time, I could walk on a path that truly belonged to me. No longer sitting alone every day in a quiet house, waiting for someone who never loved me. The next day, Lily and Logan officially started dating. I climbed up into the big oak tree at the edge of town to cool off. Beneath the shade, their laughter blended with the hum of cicadas echoing in my ears. All that summer, I quietly kept their secret while reopening my old textbooks that had been untouched for years. This time I wouldn't drop out of school to get married. I would take the college entrance exam. My grades were average at best, so I had no choice but to give it everything I had. By September, a new school year began. We were seniors now. Lily and Logan chose the science track while I studied in the humanities department. We were in different classes. After school, they always showed up at my classroom door right on time. Summer, let's go home, Lily called out, smiling as Logan carried her bag on his shoulder. I shook my head. You two go ahead. I signed up for evening classes. She froze surprised. Evening classes? When did that happen? Why didn't you tell me? My grades aren't great, I said without looking up from my notebook. If I want to get into college, I need to study harder. I already told Mom and Dad. You two go on ahead. My brows knitted tightly as I focused on the math problem in front of me. Lily looked like she wanted to say something else, but Logan's face suddenly darkened. He grabbed her hand and turned her around. Don't bother with her. Let her do what she wants. Let's go. The two of them walked away, disappearing down the hallway. I kept my head down, working through the problem, when a low chuckle sounded behind me. Interesting, a boy's voice said mockingly. I turned slightly and saw Cole Jensen, the transfer student from the city who had joined us in the second semester of junior year. Every day he either slept through class or read comic books. He always looked at people with a kind of lazy disdain and rarely talked to anyone. I had never spoken to him before. I only remembered his name because Lily had mentioned him once. I ignored him completely. My time was too precious to waste on people like that. I didn't want to lose even a single second. The old ceiling fan above me creaked rhythmically as I bent over my work again. Later that night, I walked home alone with a small flashlight in my hand. The road from school to home led up a long slope. I was panting softly as I recited my lessons under my breath. The summer night air was heavy and sticky, but my steps felt strangely light. Then I saw Logan standing not far from the entrance to my street, clearly waiting for me. Summer, he said, frowning, his voice low. You don't have to avoid me like this, staying late at school on purpose. It's not safe for a girl to be walking home alone at night. Don't be stubborn. Starting tomorrow, come home with us. Looking at his face, so sure he understood everything, I couldn't help but laugh. You think I'm avoiding you? I asked. Isn't that what you've been doing? He said sharply. Ever since Lily and I got together, you've been keeping your distance. You don't have to do this to prove something. If you want to study, we can help you. There's no need to act like this just to get attention. If something happened to you, Lily would be worried. You think I'm putting on an act? I stopped walking and looked straight at him. You think me avoiding you, me studying hard, everything I do is just to get your attention, Logan? He opened his mouth but couldn't answer. I don't like you anymore, I said calmly but firmly. Not in that way. Studying late isn't about you. It's about me. I want to get into college for myself. Don't flatter yourself so much. His face darkened, his tone turning cold. Summer, do you really have to say it like that? You're the one who stopped me on my way home, I replied, my voice steady. And you're the one talking like you know everything. For 2 lifetimes combined, this was the first time I had ever torn away the mask I wore in front of him. We stood facing each other in the heavy summer night air. After a few tense seconds, Logan suddenly let out a quiet laugh. Are you planning to go to college? He said with a smirk. I'll believe it when I see it. Just don't come begging me for tutoring when the time comes. With that, he tossed the words over his shoulder and walked away. I turned toward home, but as soon as I looked up, my heart tightened. Lily was standing at the doorway, her calm eyes watching me. I didn't know how long she had been there or how much she had heard. She took my school bag from me and stayed silent for a while before saying softly, Summer, if you really want to get into college, maybe you should move into the school dorms. A week later I did. After the first week of the new semester, I moved into the school dormitory. Lily helped me make my bed, then went downstairs to leave. Before she walked out the door, she said quietly, I'm sorry, Lily. I ran to the balcony and called out loudly, if you're going to apologize, at least look me in the eye when you say it. She stopped but didn't turn around. I continued, my voice trembling slightly. Besides, I'm not even mad. You're my sister. I'd never do anything to make you sad. I'll always choose you. You believe that, right? Lily had always been the quiet one. Like Mom used to say, she kept everything bottled up inside. When we were little and fought, Mom would always make me apologize first, even when it wasn't my fault. Over time I just got used to it. We were sisters, blood family. What was a few soft words compared to pride? Between my sister and Logan, I would always rather protect her than my own ego. I didn't want to make things harder for her. And honestly, staying in the dorms wasn't so bad. It would let me focus more on studying. I didn't blame her, not at all. From her perspective, she hadn't done anything wrong. But Lily didn't answer. She said nothing, just raised her hand in a small wave and walked away. I stood there watching her back fade into the distance and let out a long sigh. Well, I muttered to myself, 2 lives combined. I've lived longer than her by more than 15 years. I can afford to let it go. After that, my dorm life began. My 3 roommates all came from small, remote villages. Because it was so inconvenient for them to travel, they had applied to stay in the dorms. My house, however, was right in town, so they thought I was taking up space unnecessarily and kept their distance at first. But in truth, there were plenty of empty beds in the dorm. The rooms were never full. I didn't bother explaining anything. Every night after washing up, I'd climb into bed and quietly do my homework. After evening study hall, the dorm light stayed on for only 1 more hour. When they finally shut off the power, I'd turn on my small flashlight, rest my notebook on my legs, and record every mistake I made that day. After a few nights of doing this, I had to keep changing positions, eventually ending up lying on my stomach still writing. One night I was struggling through a math problem for what felt like the 300th time, completely unaware that the girl in the opposite bunk had dragged her desk closer to mine. Use the desk, a clear, gentle voice said. I looked up to see all 3 of my roommates standing around my bed, each holding a candle. Startled, I let out a small scream which made them burst out laughing. From that night on, our relationship began to change. The girl across from me was named Sarah Ye, though everyone called her Sally. She was also my desk mate in class. It was she who had pulled her desk over that night to help me. The other 2 were twin sisters, June and Jenna Chu. Sally's home was the farthest away, more than 6 miles from town, and she had to cross a stretch of mountain road to get to school. The two twins were orphans who had been raised by their grandmother and uncle. They'd been living in dorms since middle school. All three of them were diligent and kind-hearted girls. Each of us was fighting hard for the same goal, to get into college. In everyone's heart burned the same quiet fire. The desire to succeed, to make our families proud, to escape the mountains and see the world beyond. I was no different. In this era, as long as you worked hard, you could make something of yourself. We began studying together, sharing snacks our families sent from home. Every time Mom mailed me food, I would split it evenly with the three of them. I always saved a portion of my food for the girls in my dorm. The closer I grew to them, the farther I drifted from Lily. During recess, Sally and I often went to the restroom together, passing by the classroom where Lily and Logan sat side by side. Every now and then, Lily would glance up, our eyes meeting for the briefest moment. Then she would quickly look away. The days passed quietly, and soon the first monthly exam arrived. My grades had improved by 7 ranks since the beginning of the year. My math score still hadn't passed, but the rest of my subjects showed clear progress. Among the 4 of us in the dorm, Sally did the best. She placed in the top 10 of the entire grade. I stared at my paper, a little disappointed when she suddenly snatched it from my hands and shoved it into my desk. "Stop staring at it. You've improved so much already. What matters is that your hard work is paying off. Come on, let's grab a soda." But I hadn't expected that Lily and Logan's grades had both dropped. Not long after, they also moved into the dorms to study at night. The next morning, Lily came to find me in the cafeteria. Her expression was calm as she sat down across from me, as if we had planned to meet. Neither of us mentioned the tension from before. It was as though nothing had ever happened. I was relieved. It felt like she was finally beginning to trust me again. "Here, Summer." Sally handed me a bun stuffed with shredded radish. I had just taken it when a pair of chopsticks reached over from the side, smoothly snatching it away. In its place, a plain steamed bun landed in my bowl. "She doesn't eat radish," Logan said casually, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. But right after saying it, he froze. In my previous life, he hadn't realized I couldn't stand radish until our 3rd year of marriage. That day, his mother had steamed a large plate of radish-stuffed buns. The smell alone had made me vomit. Later, we found out I was pregnant. My morning sickness had made the reaction stronger. But the baby didn't make it. Logan had said he didn't want children, and he took me to get an abortion. During our 45 years of marriage, we never had a child. The sharp sound of a chair scraping across the floor snapped me out of the memory. "I'm done. I'm leaving first," Lily said softly, standing up, even though her bowl of porridge was still half full. She didn't look at me or at him. Logan immediately rose and followed her out. I watched their figures fade from sight, a sudden weariness weighing down on me. "Summer," Jenna mumbled with her mouth full of food. "Does that Logan guy like you?" June, sitting next to her, nearly choked on her bun. "No way. Impossible. Isn't he dating your sister?" "Exactly," I said, smiling faintly. "Logan would rather die than love me. So why then was he acting so strange lately?" I didn't understand. Maybe once the college entrance exams were over, everything would go back to normal. I didn't know what Logan had said to Lily afterward, but by the next day, the two of them had already made up. They went to and from class together again just like before. I quietly breathed a sigh of relief. That evening during self-study, Logan suddenly showed up at my classroom. Ignoring the stares of everyone around us, he walked straight to my desk. Picking up my practice test, he scanned it for a few seconds before tapping his finger hard on one of the problems. "You even got this wrong, Summer? What on earth are you doing during your study sessions?" He grabbed a pen as if to start correcting it right there on my paper. I looked up at him, confused. "Logan, what do you want from me? Are you here just to bother me?" He froze for a moment, then forced a smile. "You're overthinking it. I'm just bringing you something Lily asked me to give you." He handed me a new workbook. As I reached out to take it, he suddenly leaned closer, his breath brushing against my ear. "Summer," he murmured. "Isn't this exactly what you wanted me to do?" Before he could finish, I shoved him hard, pushing him back. Right then, Cole Jensen abruptly stood up from his desk. He stepped between us, snatched the paper from the table, and crossed out the line Logan had just written. Summer didn't get it wrong, Cole said coldly. You did? Logan glared at him, stunned for a moment, then turned his sharp gaze back to me with a bitter mocking smile. So that's why, he sneered. You were so determined to stay in the dorms. So you could sneak out at night to meet men? Logan said coldly. For a moment, I felt as if the world had frozen solid. The blood in my veins turned to ice. In a small-town high school in the 90s, a sentence like that was enough to completely destroy a girl's reputation. My body trembled with rage, but before I could speak, Cole punched him square in the face. You bastard! Say that again if you dare. The next second, the two of them were throwing punches at each other. Desks and chairs toppled over. Books scattered across the floor. By the time my sister arrived with a teacher in tow, chaos had already erupted. Under the teacher's sharp reprimand, Lily lowered her head and spoke softly. It's because Summer and Cole are too close. Logan was worried she'd get distracted from studying, so he lost his temper for a moment. I froze, staring at her. My heart tightened painfully, as if something inside me had cracked open. In the end, the three of us were publicly named and reprimanded during the morning assembly. The rumor spread through the entire school in less than a day. When I went home that weekend, my parents scolded me relentlessly. You've brought shame on this family, my father shouted. If we'd known this would happen, we wouldn't have let you go to school. You're wasting your time. You should just quit and find someone to marry. I lowered my head, digging my fingernails deep into my palms. Lily stood beside us the whole time, silent, not saying a single word in my defense. That night, for the first time in my life, I yelled back. I didn't do anything wrong. Logan's the one who lost his mind. What does that have to do with me? I'm not getting married. I'm going to college. I will go to college. Before they could reply, I ran out the door and didn't stop until I reached the dorm. Crawling into bed, I pulled the blanket over my head. It was still hot in October, but I felt chilled to the bone, as if the wind had carved a hollow space right through my chest. I couldn't understand it. How could Lily treat me that way? Hurt me so deeply just because of Logan? That night, I swore to myself I would never care about her again. I didn't know how long I lay there before the door creaked open. Summer, why didn't you go home? It was Jenna's voice. Shoo. I heard Sally whisper. She's upset. Let her be. But June walked over and patted my shoulder. It's okay. Actually, it's great you stayed. You're lucky, you know. Grandma made her famous stir-fried pork and sent us a huge jar. Come on, get up and try it. Her cheerful tone made it impossible to stay sad. I wiped my tears and peeked out from under the blanket. Come on, June said again, grinning as she held up the food. The next morning when I walked into class, Cole was already at his desk. A bruise darkened his temple. Without saying a word, he set a bottle of soda on my table. Summer, about yesterday, you don't have to thank me. Why should I thank you? I cut him off coldly. If you hadn't thrown that punch, I wouldn't have been publicly humiliated. Everyone wouldn't be gossiping about me. I met his gaze, my voice sharp. Did my sister promise you something? Why are you so eager to help her? The smile froze on Cole's face. I slammed the soda bottle down and turned away. But before I could walk off, he grabbed my wrist. Summer, stop. Tell me one thing. Since when have I ever listened to your sister? I yanked my hand free, annoyed. You transferred here in junior year. I saw you give her a letter myself. That day, when Cole Jensen had just arrived at our school, he'd sent a love letter to Lily. I had seen it with my own eyes, and from that moment on, I'd thought of him as just another shallow flirt. Cole's face flushed red. Not from embarrassment but from anger. That letter wasn't for your sister, he said through clenched teeth. It was for you, but you never got it. I was confused. You didn't even glance my way once. You're lying, I snapped, turning away. But he followed undeterred, his voice growing more earnest. I'm not lying, Summer. I really like you. The first day I transferred here, I saw you outside of town climbing a fence with a group of kids to pick fruit. You ran so fast, Cole said with a grin, laughing out loud the whole time like a little monkey finally set free. I froze, my face burning red, then pale, then red again. Behind me, Sally and Jenna burst out laughing, and June passing by couldn't hold back either. Summer, you were stealing fruit. Our little monkey, the great sage equal to heaven, huh? She teased, laughing so hard she nearly doubled over. I reached out and covered her mouth. I wasn't stealing. That tree belonged to my uncle. All right, Summer, the fruit-picking monkey, our great sage, Jin said, still giggling. I couldn't help it. I laughed too. Yes, this was who I really was. Not gentle, not brilliant, not like my sister. No one had ever liked me the way they liked her. But now, somehow, someone actually did. I turned to look at Cole. He scratched his head, embarrassed, but his eyes shone brightly. Still, I knew clearly. I could never like him. I didn't want to like anyone. Not anymore. Right now, all I wanted was to study hard and get into college. I'm sorry, I said quietly. I misunderstood you. He froze for a second. Then his face lit up with a huge smile. As long as you're not mad, that's enough. Hey, can I join your study group? I'm a bit better at some subjects than you. I could help you. Really? I just never bothered before. But I'm actually really smart. I looked at him skeptically, then finally shook my head. That's not up to me. Sally's in charge of the group. Beside me, Sally stopped smiling, her face serious. Cole, I'll let you join us, but only if you score higher than me on the next exam. If you can't even beat me, how are you going to help Summer? Of course, Cole didn't beat her, so he shamelessly started tagging along with us anyway. When we ate, he sat at the next table. When we studied, he picked the seat right behind us. At first, he stayed quiet, working through problems on his own. Every now and then he'd look up and ask, "Hey, how are you guys solving this one?" Then one day, Sally was out sick, and Jenna was stuck on a math problem. Her hair a total mess from frustration. Cole casually reached over and scribbled the solution on her scratch paper. Oh, it can be done that way. Jenna's eyes lit up in amazement. Cole smirked. Not bad, huh? Yeah, amazing, Mr. Genius, Cole, she said with a laugh. Over time, his score started climbing higher and higher. He and Sally helped us tackle plenty of tough problems. That's when we realized when he'd said, "I'm actually really smart," he hadn't been lying. That same day, we also learned that Cole Jensen really was from a wealthy family. Just the kind of rich kid who'd been banished to the countryside to finish school. My dad remarried, he told us cheerfully, as if it were someone else's story. My stepmom had 2 more kids and poof, guess who got kicked out of the house? He grinned widely. We stayed quiet, not sure what to say. Turns out he wasn't arrogant, just lonely. Cole caught the change in our expressions immediately. Seeing our sympathy, he wasted no time taking advantage. Each night during self-study, his chair seemed to inch closer and closer until the 5 of us were crammed together in one row, studying vocabulary, solving equations, and doing practice tests. He always brought snacks, offering them to Sally with exaggerated reverence. "My noble leader," he'd say dramatically, holding up the food with both hands. "Please accept this humble tribute to the study group." Sally would laugh and call him shameless, but she always ended up giving him half a jar of her homemade pickled vegetables. That's how our senior year went, like a wound-up clock ticking non-stop. Practice papers piled up like mountains. The countdown calendar flipped page after page. The 5 of us sat in our corner of the classroom, heads huddled together, debating answers, testing each other on formulas. When we were tired, we'd wash our faces, sip strong tea, and start again. Cole complained constantly about how exhausting studying was. But even as he grumbled, his hand never stopped moving across the page. The rumors that once haunted me slowly faded away, like a tide that finally receded. As for Logan, even though he often appeared in the same places I passed by, I never spoke to him again. I walked straight past him as if he were just air. By December, snow began to fall over the small town. That weekend, I didn't go home. Lily came to the dorm bringing me a blanket, winter shoes, and a thick coat. For months now, Lily and Logan's grades had stayed the same. No improvement at all. She set the bundle of winter clothes down and was about to leave when I called out to her at the doorway. We stood together beneath the eaves, watching the delicate snowflakes drift down in silence. My breath turned to white mist in the cold air. I was the first to speak. "Lily, why don't you believe me?" I asked quietly. "I really don't like Logan anymore. You thought I still had feelings for him. That's why you told me to move into the dorms. I listened to you. Then he insulted me and got into a fight with Cole. And you blamed me. I didn't argue back. I didn't even get angry. Since that day, I haven't spoken a single word to him. I haven't even seen him again after all that. You still don't believe me?" I looked at her lowered eyes, trying to untangle the quiet knot she kept locked in her heart. But she just listened without responding. When I finally fell silent, she softly asked, "What if Logan likes you?" "That's his problem," I said without hesitation. "His feelings have nothing to do with me. Besides, he doesn't like me. He just thinks my eyes should always be on him." I reached out and held her hand. "Lily, I only care about you. You're my sister. We're family, right?" She smiled faintly, a small bitter curve that carried a sadness I couldn't name. "Really? But tell me, Summer, is there still room for me in your life now?" Before I could answer, she continued, her voice trembling slightly. "You have so many new friends now. You eat with them, study with them, go to evening classes with them. It feels like you don't need me anymore. They're great people, but that doesn't mean—" I started to explain, but she shook her head, cutting me off. Without another word, she turned and walked into the falling snow without looking back. I stood there under the roof, watching her fading silhouette disappear once again. After that, Lily started avoiding me on purpose. Even though we studied at the same school, we hardly ever saw each other. Logan, however, did the opposite. He sent people to ask me to meet him by the river. I ignored every message. When New Year's Day came, the school gave us a one-day break. After telling my parents, I went to Cole's small rented house. The moment I opened the door, the smell of hot pot filled the room. Sally and June were busy putting food into the simmering broth while Jenna tugged at Cole's sleeve, insisting they play rock, paper, scissors. "Whoever loses buys the soda," she said. Of course Jenna won. Cole groaned dramatically as he grabbed his coat. "How come the host has to run the errands? You girls are ruthless." June rolled her eyes at him. "Stop whining and go already." Outside, the snow was falling heavier. Inside, we sat around the coal stove, the air warm and fragrant. Cole raised his bottle of soda. "All right, everyone. Happy New Year." "Happy New Year," we all cheered. The coals crackled beneath the pot as the broth boiled and bubbled. The five of us ate until sweat streamed down our faces, the steam fogging up the ice patterns on the window. When we were almost done eating, the conversation turned lively again. Someone, maybe Jenna, brought up the future. "So, what majors are you guys thinking of choosing?" "I'm definitely going into finance," Cole said first. "Part of my dad's assets still belong to my biological mom. Why should I let anyone else get it? I'm going to take back what's mine." "I want to major in business management," I said. Experience from my previous life told me this was the right path. Jenna and June laughed, their chopsticks still in their mouths. "We haven't really thought about it yet. Something that makes good money, I guess, enough to build a big house for Grandma and Uncle someday." Then it was Sally's turn. She hesitated for a moment before speaking softly. "Actually, I want to study medicine." But almost immediately she shook her head. "No, I'll probably choose something cheaper, something easier to find a job with." The room fell quiet for a second. I patted her shoulder and said, "You're so smart, Sally. Whatever you study, you'll do great." Cole suddenly lifted his soda bottle with a grin. "She's right. Here's to all of us." 5 glass bottles clinked together with a crisp, clear sound. "To our dreams." Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, the heat from the stove rose in a soft haze, and in each of our eyes, a light of hope quietly shimmered. Hope for the future carried us into the new year. After New Year's Day, we returned to our relentless study routine, studying as if our lives depended on it. One afternoon, while the snow outside fell thick and heavy, we began our final exams for the first semester of senior year. We had promised to celebrate once the exams were over, but right after the last test, Sally got a call from one of the teachers. Her face changed and she quickly packed up her things and left, braving the snow to go home. Seeing how hard the snow was falling, I suggested that we postpone our plans until next semester. "Let's all go home," I told June and Jenna. "Winter break's only a week anyway." After saying goodbye to them, I decided the next morning to walk through the snow to see Cole off. His father had sent someone to pick him up for the holidays. Just before he left, he suddenly ran back and hugged me tightly. His voice was muffled against the scarf around my neck. Summer, are you really sure you don't feel anything for me? I hugged him back lightly and answered clearly, of course I do. I see you as my best friend. Just like Sally and the others, friendship lasts much longer than anything else. He let go and tilted his head with a teasing grin. All right then. But if you ever change your mind, my arms will always be open to you, sweetheart. Ouch. Ouch. I laughed and gave him a playful punch. Get going, Cole Jensen. Happy New Year. See you after break, he called as he got into the car. The tires crunched over the snow until the sound faded into the distance. When I turned around, I saw Logan standing silently beneath the old oak tree at the fork in the road. Snow had covered his shoulders. I didn't know how long he'd been standing there. Summer, he said softly. His eyes filled with a pain that made my stomach tighten. Do you like him? I didn't answer. I turned to leave, but he caught up and grabbed my shoulder, forcing me to face him. So now you won't even look at me, he said, voice trembling. Do you have any idea what it's been like for me lately? His fingers dug into my shoulder, eyes red. The more time I spend with Lily, the more I miss how things used to be with us, Logan. I slapped him hard across the face. You make me sick. He froze, his expression twisting. What do you take me and my sister for? I spat. Two women you can just pick between whenever you feel like it. It was as if my words pierced straight through him. He dropped his hand, voice shaking. That's not it. I don't even know how it came to this. I know I've wronged Lily, but I realize the person I truly love is you. Summer, please come back to me. That's enough, I said coldly. Stop talking before I lose the last bit of respect I have for you. What you call love isn't worth anything. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there in the snow. Classes resumed on the 6th day of the new year. June, Jenna and I returned first. Cole came back 2 days later, bringing each of us a scarf as a New Year's gift. But by the 3rd day, Sally's bed was still empty. I went to the teacher's office to ask about her, and they told me, after a moment of hesitation, that she had dropped out. Family matters, one of them said vaguely, unwilling to explain further. When I told the others, we all sat there stunned, unable to focus for the rest of the day. Later, our exam results came back. The 3 of us barely reached the college admission cutoff line. Sally, however, had ranked 3rd in the entire grade. That evening, we decided to visit her over the weekend and ask what had happened. We trudged through half-melted snow for hours before finally finding her house. Sally was sitting under the eaves chopping pig feed. When she saw us, her face lit up in surprise, then quickly dimmed again. What are you guys doing here? She asked. She led us into the small, dimly lit house. The faint scent of herbal medicine lingered in the air. Under our gentle questioning, she finally explained why she'd quit school. My mom fell and is bedridden now, she said in a calm, steady voice. My dad can't handle everything on his own. My younger brother and sister already had to drop out. If I keep going to college, the whole family will collapse. Her father came out then, carrying a tray of tea. He said cheerfully that he had already arranged a good match for her. After the new year, Sally and her fiancé would go to the city to work together. We were stunned. Jenna quickly pulled out Sally's exam paper. Sir, Sally is one of the best students in our grade. She's incredibly smart. Being smart doesn't put food on the table, he interrupted, glancing sharply at Sally. My dear, this is just fate, Sally's father said, his tone resigned. We've done our best to raise you through high school. That's enough. Sally lowered her head, saying nothing. She waited until her father turned his back, then suddenly grabbed her stack of exam papers and threw them straight into the fire pit. Sparks burst into the air before dying out into silence. This is my fate, she said quietly. She walked us to the door, her voice soft but firm. Go home, Summer. I'm not going back to school. You all have to study hard, harder than ever. Work 1,000 times harder for me, too. Now go. She closed the door behind us before we could say anything else. On the way back, none of us spoke a word. That night, Jenna cried under her blanket, her sobs muffled and broken. When she finally stopped, she sat up, lit a candle, and carefully spread out Sally's notebooks across her empty bed. I opened one of her thick math notebooks, the pages filled with tiny, neat handwriting. Don't cry anymore, I said softly. Sally told us we have to study hard for her. From that day on, we studied later and later each night. Even Cole, the noisiest of us all, became quiet and focused. We took turns fetching food from the cafeteria, eating quickly between practice papers, rushing to finish our meals just to get back to solving problems. A week later, Sally suddenly appeared at the school gate. We ran to her in surprise, joy bursting from all of us, until she smiled sadly and said, "I came to say goodbye. My fiancé's waiting for me at the bus station. We're leaving soon." Jenna threw her arms around her, crying uncontrollably. My own eyes stung with tears I couldn't hold back. Cole turned abruptly and ran off. A few minutes later, he came back carrying a camera and grabbed a nearby classmate. "Hey, could you take a photo of us?" The picture captured the 5 of us standing in front of our high school, snow falling thick and white all around. Our young faces were frozen forever in that moment, framed by the cold light of winter. I held Sally's hand tightly. "When you go work, go south. Head to the coastal cities. There are more opportunities there." She nodded hard, tears glimmering in her eyes, but her smile was radiant. "You all have to live well, okay? Really well." We stood there in the snow, waving as she boarded the bus. "Sally, when things settle down, you have to write to us." We kept shouting her name until the bus disappeared completely down the snowy road. Time flew by like the wind. Our grades steadily climbed higher and higher. Every point of progress was proof that our efforts weren't in vain. As the college entrance exams drew near, I heard that Lily and Logan had broken up. Her scores had dropped from university level to barely enough for community college. It hurt to see her fall apart over a man, but she continued to avoid me, pretending not to notice whenever we crossed paths. The weather shifted from cold to warm, and before I knew it, July arrived. The night before the college entrance exam, Lily unexpectedly asked me to meet her by the river. I hesitated, then decided to go. But when I got there, she wasn't the one waiting. It was Logan. The moment he saw me, he rushed forward, pinning me down on the grass. "Summer," he rasped, his eyes wild. "Don't take the exam. Let's go back to the way we were." His voice was rough, desperate. "Lily and I are over in this life and the last. You were always meant to be mine." He tried to kiss me, his hands tearing at my shirt, his grip rough and violent, as if using force could make me his again. I struggled, but he was stronger. Finally, I glared at him coldly. "Logan," I said through my teeth, "a woman's worth has never been between her legs. In this life or the next, don't you dare try to use something filthy like this to make me surrender." My words only fueled his madness. His grip tightened. Just as my strength was fading, Lily suddenly appeared, death rushing toward us. "Logan, are you insane?" she shouted. "You told me you just wanted to apologize to Summer. Did you lie to me?" She tried to pull him away, but he shoved her hard. "Get out of my way," he yelled. "If it weren't for you, things between me and Summer wouldn't have turned out like this." He had forgotten that in our past life, he'd rather jump into a river and die than stay married to me. "Logan!" Lily screamed, her voice shaking with fury. "You're trash. You're absolute trash." In that moment, all the anger, pain, and betrayal that had been building inside Lily finally exploded. She shoved Logan with all her strength. He wasn't expecting it. His head hit a rock by the riverbank with a heavy, sickening thud. The world went completely silent. Lily froze, trembling, her hand covering her mouth. I stood there numb, staring at the scene before me. After a few seconds, Logan groaned and staggered upright. His eyes were dazed, filled with agony and disbelief. Blood was already running down his face. He clutched his head, then stumbled away into the darkness, vanishing along the riverbank. Lily collapsed, crawling toward me before breaking into sobs. "I'm sorry, Summer. I'm so sorry. I almost hurt you." I hugged her tightly, my own tears falling soundlessly. "It's okay. It's over now. You're okay." For a moment, I truly thought Logan was dead. In my past life, it was on this very riverbank that he had pushed me to my death. Now, standing there again, every ounce of hatred, pain, and love dissolved into the quiet night air. The next morning, I walked into the exam room calm and steady. My mind was clear. My hands didn't tremble. Logan, however, lay in a hospital bed with a head injury, unconscious. He missed the entire exam, just like in our previous life when his actions had ruined my chances. But this time, fate had chosen a different ending. What are you thinking about? Cole waved a hand in front of my face. Let's go get lunch. That summer, our senior year quietly came to an end. The four of us shared one simple meal together. Our eyes were red as we pressed our hands together and promised, let's meet again in college. When I walked out of the restaurant, Lily was waiting for me at the end of the street. The evening breeze lifted strands of her hair as she smiled softly. Summer, have you decided which school you'll go to? She asked. I want to go south, I said. I want to see the ocean. What about you? She didn't answer, just smiled. A few mornings later, before I woke up, she quietly packed her things and left home. It wasn't until much later that I found out she had applied to a small university far up north, halfway across the country. No goodbye note, no phone call, not even a slip of paper. She disappeared from my life like the wind. I knew she needed time to heal, to let the past fade away. I heard that Logan had changed completely, quiet, withdrawn, throwing himself into his studies as if trying to erase his own guilt. By September, I held the admission letter from a prestigious university in the southern city I had dreamed of. Together with June and Jenna, I boarded the train that would take us away from home. The station was packed and noisy. My parents' eyes were red, but they smiled through their tears as they waved goodbye. The train slowly began to move. Outside the window, the scenery drifted past. The river that had trapped me through 2 lifetimes sparkled faintly in the distance. The shimmering water, the tangled memories, the tears. All of it finally receded behind me. My heart felt light, as though I had broken free from chains I'd carried for far too long. From now on, the sky and sea ahead were mine alone. During my freshman year of college, we finally received a letter from Sally. She wrote that she had broken off her engagement and found work at a garment factory in Jiang. By our junior year, she sent another letter, this time saying she had started designing clothes on her own. When I graduated, Sally had already rented her own workshop and become a true business owner. Cole, meanwhile, won his family's inheritance dispute, becoming both wealthy and free. His favorite pastime was investing in new ventures, and Sally's workshop became his first and most successful investment. One day, Sally called us out of the blue, her voice bright with laughter as she mimicked Cole's old tone. Girls, come work with me. I've got more than just one little workshop now. And just like that, as if fate had already written it long ago, we were reunited again. Sunlight streamed through the wide glass windows, scattering across the smiling faces around me. Looking at them, my friends, my family, I felt something tender and radiant swell inside me. In that moment, I knew it for certain. The bitter shadowed years of our youth had truly come to an end, and the life that belonged to me, Summerheart, and to all of us had only just begun.